boys and girls. Happy Monday. We are going to actually wrap up this unit this week. So we have one more lesson today, and then we're going to be doing another independent math task tomorrow, so another mini test. And then we're going to start our next unit on Wednesday. So let's go ahead and jump right into this lesson. Today we are on lesson 6 for those of you with your math books at home. Just look for the lesson that says lesson 6 on top. And our objective is another long one, so I'm going to break it up for you when I have you repeat it back to me. But I'm going to start just by reading it out loud to you. Today we'll draw arrays and write an addition equation to find the total amount represented. So I'm going to have you repeat that back to me now. Today we'll draw arrays, your turn, and write an addition equation, your turn, to find the total amount represented, your turn. Great job. Now our objective, our vocabulary is the same as all week last week. So we have the word array. Can everybody please say the word array? Sounds great. You guys got it. And an array is just an arrangement of objects in rows and columns. Okay? So over here we have our magnets, and we have them arranged into 1, 2, 3, 4 rows, and we have them arranged into 1, 2, 3, 4 columns. So just remembering that rows go from left to right, left to right, left to right, left to right, like my eyebrows. And then columns go from top to bottom, top to bottom, top to bottom. Okay? Kind of like the columns that we saw on this ancient Greek structure. Okay? So then we can also come up with 2 equations for arrays. So we can come up with an equation for the columns to explain what's happening in the columns, and we can also come up with an equation to explain what's happening in the rows. So in this particular case, the equations are actually exactly the same. So 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4 equals 16 for the columns, and I figured that out just by looking and seeing that there's 1, 2, 3, 4 columns, so I needed to have 4 addends, and then counting the number of objects in each column told me what this specific addend should be. And then the total, of course, is just how many magnets we had all together in our array. Same thing for rows, except instead of counting how many columns I had, obviously I counted how many rows. Okay? So just a review of what we did last week. This should not be particularly new for you, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to model a couple of problems next.
All right. So the directions at the top of the page say create an array. Write a sum of equal groups. So some very important things to notice in those directions is that it says to start by drawing an array. Okay, and then also to write the sum, so the total of equal groups. So remembering that in my array, the pictures need to be grouped equally, all right? So I'm going to read the specific question for number 1. It says, draw an array with 2 rows and 4 columns. So I'm going to choose a shape. It can be any shape that I want, and I'm going to use that to make my array. So 2 rows, 4 columns. Just because it lists rows first, I'm going to start with that. So I'm going to go actually with a letter today. I'm going to go with the letter X. So 1 X and 2 X's. And I stop because I have the start of 2 rows, 1 and 2. And then I'm going to add X's until I have 4 columns. So I'm going to go to my first X, and I'm going to just write in some more X's next to it until I have a total of 4 columns. So 1 column, 2 columns, 3 columns, 4 columns. And then I need to fill in the rest of my second row. and the rest of my second, third, and fourth column. All right, so I'm going to stop now, and my array is complete. So I know that it's complete because it has 1, 2 rows, so check, and it has 4 columns. 1, 2, 3, 4. Check. And then next I need to come down and use this space to create an equation to describe my array. So I can do that in a couple of ways. Remember, I can either write an equation to explain what's happening with my rows, or I can write an equation to explain what's happening to my columns. Both are true, so it doesn't matter which one I pick. I'm just going to start with rows because that's what's listed here. So in my array, I can see I have 1 row and then a second row. So I need to have 2 addends in my equation, and I'm going to connect them, of course, with a plus sign. So I'm going to count how many objects I have in each row, and that will tell me what my addend is going to be. So in row 1, I have 1, 2, 3, 4 X's, so I write 4 on my first line for my first addend. And then in my second row, I count how many X's, and that will tell me what this addend is going to be. 1, 2, 3, 4. Notice that my addends are the same. That's not an accident. It's not a coincidence. It's always going to be true. And if it's not true, then that means that I've made a mistake. So I need to go back and check my work if I end up with addends that don't match. Okay? And then to find my total, all I do is solve this equation, or I can also count the total number of objects in my array. So 4 plus 4 is equal to 8. That's a doubles fact that I remember from first grade. I can also just count like I said. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Check. It matches. Number 2 says, draw an array with 3 columns and 15 total objects. So this time it does not tell me how many rows I need to have, but I will be able to naturally figure that out as I draw in all of my objects to get to the number 15. So I'm going to start with those 3 columns, and I'm just going to choose a shape. I'm going to go with a heart. Okay, so 1, that's the start of my first column. 2, that's the start of my second column. And 3, that's the start of my third column. And I only need 3, so now I can stop. But I'm going to continue to add hearts to each of my columns until I get to 15. Now, I just add 1 at a time to each column to keep them equal or even. So starting in my first column, I'm going to add 1 more heart. And as I'm adding them, I'm also counting up how many hearts I have altogether. That way I know when to stop, which will be when I get to 15. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Great. So my array is all set, and I'm just going to double check with my list here. So I should have 3 columns. 1, 2, 3. Check. And I should have 15 total objects. I'm just going to count up quickly to make sure that I do. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Check. Great. So now I'm going to come up with my equation. So remember, I can do this in 2 different ways. I can either write an equation to describe what's happening in my columns, or I can write an equation to explain what's happening in my rows. Your choice. This time it's actually my choice because I'm modeling for you. So I'm just going to go with my, let's see, I'm going to go with rows this time So just like I did in number 1, okay, but I'm going to go with rows here too. So in this problem, I just count how many rows I have, and that will tell me how many add-ins I'm going to have. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm going to draw 5 spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I'm going to, of course, connect all of my add-ins with a plus sign to remind me to add those add-ins up to find the total. And then to figure out what number is going to go on these lines, what my add-ins will be, all I have to do is count up how many objects I have in each row. So in row 1, I have 1, 2, 3 hearts. In row 2, I have 1, 2, 3 hearts. In row 3, I have 1, 2, 3 hearts. And in rows 4 and 5, I have 1, 2, 3. All right. So notice my add-in is the same all the way through. That is not a coincidence. That is always going to happen. If for some reason I end up with an add-in that doesn't match the others, then I know I've made some sort of mistake and I need to go back to my array and just double check to make sure that I have whatever it says to have here, okay? So now all I need to do is find my total, and I just checked that, so I know it's actually 15. I could double check again just by counting the total number of hearts, and I also noticed that actually in each of my columns I have 5, so I can skip count by 5s too. So 5, 10, 15, check.
All right, so for today, for your independent practice work, you have 5 pages to complete, and you're going to head to Google Classroom to find your 2 options. So option 1, as usual, is to print off the worksheets and to do them by hand. And then option 2, of course, is going to be on Seesaw. So you'll use the editable templates on Seesaw and submit your work there to me. In either case, you're going to do a presentation, so you also need to follow the Seesaw link for the math presentation today to submit those to me. If you have your math journals in front of you, you are on pages 75 to 80, okay? And then you also have to do a math presentation. All right? Good luck.